quiet seaside town, an evil laid to rest centuries ago, has risen. An abandoned fortress deep in the swamp holds a secret that could save the village or destroy it. Now, a band of adventurers sets out to dig up the wounds of the past and bring the light of day to the roots of ruin. This is Tabletop Gold.
Hello and welcome to Tabletop Gold, episode 36. My name is Lars Casteen, and I'm joined tonight, as every night, by four of my friends with whom I'm going to play a tabletop role-playing game. The name of that game is Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and the name of the first person we're going to meet tonight is David, the
Hey,
Tin
Lars.
Man Chernicoff. Oh,
David.
Okay, very good. Nice to see you, David. Robin Lange is also here.
I am. Hello.
Hello, Zoe Chernicoff. I'm sorry, I said David again because David threw me off with this.
David's messing us all up tonight.
Zoe Chernicoff is also here.
Hello, I am. It's me.
Oh, a different attitude from Zoe. And our Matt Humphreys is also here.
Good evening.
Before we started recording tonight, and this may easily date the recording of this episode, because we record these ahead of time, as we've established in the past, we were talking about Hello, Robin has the hiccups tonight.
I'm sorry.
We were talking about the trendy word game that the world is abuzz with discussions of the game Wordle. When we first started talking right before we were recording tonight, our Matt had not yet experienced Wordle. Is that correct?
That is absolutely the case, yes.
So, Armat, as a Wordle newbie and a person who seems to have taken to it quite quickly, can you please share your feelings about the puzzle that the word puzzle that has taken the world by storm, and what your feelings are on it?
Yeah, I had a perfectly entertaining few minutes playing with it. I don't know if I'll return.
Interesting.
I may be a contrarian, though. Like, I often have the wrong opinions according to society about things, so...
Okay, let's talk about that.
Dive in.
Let's go deep on that one.
Are you ready for me to throw a log on the fire here with a real spicy take?
I'm very cold in my apartment right now, so yeah, I'll go for a spicy take right now.
All right. Well, here's this is a sort of a dated one, but I don't think Breaking Bad was that great.
Interesting.
I showed up to Breaking Bad being like, I'm ready to see a science teacher become a crime lord. That's dope. And then all this family shit got in the way, and I was like,
Interesting.
I get why they don't like him becoming a dickhead, but I'm here for him becoming a dickhead. That's what drew me in.
Right, I want more dickhead.
I want more of that shit.
So you're saying that, like, the resistance that the family put up to Walter White's descent into pure sociopathy
Total narrative
irritated
error.
you. You were like, they should have been urging him on. Skylar should have been cooking up meth with Walter, is what you're saying.
I would say that, to me, it just wasn't an interesting dynamic. I knew what their response was going to be every single time they were on screen, which was negative, obviously. And it never varied from that. It never got more complicated. It never got more interesting. It remained static. And what happens in a narrative? Things change.
Robin or Zoe, do either of you have any experience and or hot takes about the television show Breaking Bad? I like this, like it's time. It's been 10 years since that show was on the air. Let's circle back.
Let's dive in
and take care of this one.
I mean, I watched it. It was good, I guess.
Very good.
I did quite I thought the series finale was excellent. I did really like the finale. I felt like the finale was beautifully Shakespearean. The series itself, there's a certain point where I'm like, I'm still watching this thing? It's still going on? Oh my God. How long is this thing? And it just kept going. And it kind of did feel like there's a certain point when you're watching Shakespeare when you're just going, how fucking long is this play? It's like, how long is 5 acts?
I know that feeling.
Yeah, that's called Act 4. Is what
I
it is.
And
cannot
this is somewhere
handle-
around Act 4.
Yeah.
And this is coming from an English teacher, somewhere around Act 4 and a theater person. So there's a certain point where it's like, okay, when do we get to that final scene in Act 5? Come on. And then the final scene in Act 5 is usually pretty satisfying. And I did feel that way about Breaking Bad. So it was very Shakespearean.
You know what they say, all's well that ends well, after all.
Oh,
Zoe, what are your feelings on the television program Breaking Bad?
I mean, I struggle. I have struggled for years with like TV shows that just make me feel anxious, and it fell in the like too anxious to. I mean, like appreciate Bryan Cranston's acting. Didn't feel like the quality here is not good, but it was just like there was like a guy tied up in the basement, and he's fucking like he only has like a bucket to poop in or whatever. I don't know. That's like stuck with me. We this is sort of diverging off of Breaking Bad, but not onto another show.
Wait.
Anytime we'd like have gone looking at houses, the few times we've gone house shopping, like sometimes, especially in the Bay Area, there'd be like I always think of that scene from that show. Like you find all sorts of weird rooms in the Bay Area. Like there'll be like a 5.5 foot ceilinged basement with nothing in it except for like a bunch of nails on the wall, and you'd be like, "Oh, it's your murder room. You got your murder room." But I always think of that scene. So.
David, we currently have 3 for 3 people who are sort of disappointed in classic television series Breaking Bad. Where do you come down on this? Are we going to make it 4 for 4?
So Robin's take was all's well that ends well. Matt's take was much ado about nothing.
Oh,
Woo! Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah.
So I guess mine is probably club. I could say 12th Night because I've binged it.
Can you just
pretty
tell me how you
fast.
feel about the show, David?
No, I can't.
No?
I have to do the
It was
thing
just a
now.
Midsummer's Night Dream to him.
I basically liked it. I watched it solo, obviously. Like Zoe was not that into it, so I kept going. I watched it in a relatively condensed period. I do think that by the end, the most impressive thing about it was that they were able to land the plane on the incredibly huge. I mean, the sort of stakes and epic Shakespearean nature of it just kept expanding as it went on to the point where it felt like I how could they possibly pay this off? And many great series like that struggle. I ended up feeling good about the overall investment rather than getting to the end and sort of being annoyed about how much it had asked of me, which is how people respond to a show like Lost, or some people feel about Game of Thrones or The Sopranos or some of these other ones. I basically was like pleased with the amount that I had given to it and that it had given to me in exchange.
Okay, so I'm gonna say that we have 1 for 4 positive reviews of Breaking Bad.
Where are you? Yeah, where are you on this?
Here's where I am. That show made me hate plot in television shows. Because every episode it's like, here's some fucking thing that's going to blow your face off. Oh my God, he's tied up to a thing. There's a man with a knife. And there's an exploding thing over there. And there's a gun. And he's going to jump out of the trunk. And you know what I mean? Like, it was just like nonstop. Like, I get it. There's stuff happening to this fucking dude on this television
It's
show.
just Chekhov's gun after Chekhov's gun after
Oh
Chekhov's
my
gun.
God. It's just like, yeah, I get it. This dude is in a tense situation.
Lars, did you ever watch any
Yes.
of The Shield?
Yes, I watched a season of The Shield, and I was
you
like,
have-
I've had enough.
So you got the same sort
Stop.
of exhausted, there's too
I'm
much
just
story
tired
here.
of all of these things happening on this show. Like, just pump the brakes a little bit. Like, let's
Just
hang
measure
out.
for measure,
Let's-
you were worn out by it.
Oh my God.
It wasn't as you like it.
You get me every time with these, man.
yeah,
You get me
it's
every
always going to be a take you don't expect.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
I love
I totally feel that, man. Like,
See, I'm making a little sense now.
But
It seems like
you're so into story on our show. Like that's like you're always seeking out the next.
No, I get what he's
thing
saying though. Like there's you can enjoy story and not want to have like and enjoy something unfolding rather than having something shoved down your throat.
It's very engineered.
Yeah.
The plotting in that show is like overworked.
So did you see The Wire? Was that another show where you felt exhausted by it?
No, The Wire is cool because they just hang out and like push each other downstairs and like.
No, I agree though. It feels organic in a way. Like I watched all of The Wire because it's so beautifully done. Like it feels earned.
The Wire, it's like characters will have conversations about like, hey, they listen to different music in Baltimore than they do in New York. And I'm like, that's true. My cousin who grew up in Baltimore, I have no idea what the hell she was listening to. The music that she heard was crazy growing up, and I like appreciated that show, you know? There's a sense of place and a sense of...
I really love experiencing The Wire as like just an excellent observational stand-up set.
you ever know when you try and take your drug cartel legitimate and your name is Stringer Bell? Anyone?
Yeah.
But it's like if the Wire were plotted like Breaking Bad, it's like every episode would end with a man with a gun popping out of McNulty's closet. Like it's just too much.
And instead, it's every like fourth episode. Yeah.
They space it out.
Well, look, guys, I know that when we started out thinking about Wordle, we were really concerned that we would date ourselves.
And now we've moved to something timeless.
I'm glad that we sidestepped that by reviewing Breaking Bad and The Wire.
With Shakespeare puns!
And Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's as good a time as any for us to move on, right? Let's get into our game. If you are enjoying Tabletop Gold, or if you enjoyed the show Breaking Bad, why don't you rate and review us on your podcast app of choice? We're going to get into it. We are going to, right now, play our game.
We're still open to reviews from people who didn't like Breaking Bad, right?
That's true. Actually,
if you have
please.
thoughts about Breaking Bad, good, bad, indifferent, rate
Come
and
join
review
us on the Discord and tell me how wrong I am.
Yeah, we got a movies and TV channel on the Discord.
Yeah, tell us why we should have liked Breaking Bad more at www.tabletopgold.com and find the link to our Discord server. The story of the 4 thieves that went missing at Gauntlet Keep has come to a close, with 2 dead, 1 unconscious, and 1 on the road out of town. It's still early in the morning on a spring day, and the clouds are starting to roll in, but you can still see the ancient lighthouse off to the northwest and the town of Otari spilling down the hill in front of you into the inner sea. So after taking some time to patch up your wounds, it's close to 9:30 in the morning. A crowd has gathered around the scene of the fight that you just had with these psychics. And the situation is pretty chaotic. Jeffrey's psychic attacks have dislodged fences and tools and so on from the surrounding houses. And people are starting to venture outside again, picking things up and starting to put them back together where they belong. Rin steps out of her shop, sort of irritated, but still manifesting the same sort of friendly, charismatic vibe that she typically has. And she walks over to where Gralgust, the Morlock leader, has been crushed along with a chair from her back room. And she kicks the chair a little bit and she says, this chair is ruined too. She shrugs a moment later and says, oh well, what's next for the 4 of you?
We want to help you clean this up, obviously. We'll start there.
People are looking at the 4 of you with some sense of distrustfulness, tempered by a recognition, like they all know that you're the people that saved the town from the undead a week ago. So there's a lot of like people talking to each other, looking at you and realizing like, oh, I think trouble sort of follows these people around, doesn't it?
And Norman sees this and his voice gets a little louder and he goes, "We need to clean it up because this wicked cultist has caused nothing but trouble. And we're here to expose his wickedness for the town."
You hear like one person say, "I think that cultist that she's talking about came from the lighthouse." And somebody says, "Well, I think the mayor insisted that they go to the lighthouse to clean things up. It must be important if they brought him here."
Good work, Norman. And Vadim walks over and grabs Gralgust by the ankle and just starts kind of, where should we deal with this? It doesn't feel right to just not give him a burial.
I feel like he'll be happy anywhere he's underground, right?
That's a very solid point.
You look up and you see, riding up on a horse, accompanied by a couple other members of the town guard, you see Captain Lardis Longsaddle, slouched over in his armor, sort of rocking back and forth on top of his horse. You recognize one of the guards as Amber, the guard who helped you at the graveyard. And he walks up and looks at you and spits on the ground. And he looks at you and he says, "Norman."
Oh, Captain Lardis, nice to see you. Good morning, sir.
Well, now what the hell is going on over here? What have you got happening here in my town?
I'll tell you, sir, we really took your last comments to heart. We did not want to get your guard involved, but this evil cultist here, he was trying to cause trouble, so we had to tie him to this chair and fling him up in the air and kill him.
You got 2 dead Thieves Guild members here, too. Damn, I hate those people.
And one unconscious one, too.
He says, "Oh,
that one's for you."
Listen, I don't want to know what's going on over here." He motions to a couple of the guards. He says, "Clean up these bodies, and what do you want me to do with this one?" And he motions at the unconscious Meffrey.
Well, this one, we actually had to stop this one from killing someone else.
I don't know, if you'd like to, you can make a diplomacy check to try to make an impression on him to boost his opinion of you. It sounds like you're sort of trying to warm up to him a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. She knows he does not have the highest opinion of her, and while she does not have the highest opinion of him, she'd rather be on his good side than on the other side. So she's gonna, let's make a diplomacy check there. And that's a 24.
Yeah, so let's play that out. So he looks at you and he says, "He was trying to kill people. What is that now?"
He was so distraught by the death of his 2 brothers here. You can see they're triplets, that he was going crazy and he was getting ready to, he's a psychic, so we actually need to be quite careful. And he was getting ready to kill people left and right, and we had to stop him. And actually, I was just about to tell everyone here that we should bring him directly to you.
Oh, these are what the thieves down at the Crook's Nook are getting up to these days? The people running around stabbing each other with psychic powers? What?
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's what Inyasima is really signing up for. I don't know if she knew what he was up to. I think he might be an outlier, but this particular one got kind of dangerous.
And he looks to Amber and he says, "You know what you've been saying about these people? You might have been onto something."
Hi, Amber.
Hi.
Amber!
Yeah, hi. Yeah, so Longsaddle is now helpful to you rather than indifferent.
Yes.
Hey. Way to go, Trill.
And he looks a little uncomfortable. And he says, "Ma'am, what would you have us do with this fellow? If you say he tried to kill somebody, do you want us to take him into custody, or do you want us to leave him with you?"
I mean, maybe take him into custody and just let him cool off overnight. He's been through a lot. I mean, he lost his brothers. That's traumatic.
I think he had something in mind in his pockets, and as Lardis is like putting him in cuffs, Norman's patting down his pockets looking for some coins.
Excellent, Norman. I was thinking we need to check his pockets. Very good, very good.
You can trust these Thieves Guild members, you know?
Here's what you find in his pockets as I open up my character sheet for Meffrey and see what he's got. What does this guy have?
You thought you were going to get rid of those character sheets, didn't you?
You do find a set of thieves' tools on him if you'd like to take that.
Look look at that. My thieves' tools wound up in his pocket. Captain Lardis, I just don't know with these thieves.
These thieves, you can't trust them, can you?
We, of course, only use them for opening locked doors in the lighthouse, of course. You know, it's strictly professional.
Captain Longsaddle, you've seen the triplets here. There's one more thing you ought to see. And she turns and motions toward the body of the Morlock. You may want to take a closer look.
And he sort of flinches back and says, "What? I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. What is this? This is that cultist that I heard people talking about?"
It is. And that was going to be my first question, was if you'd ever seen anything quite like this in Otari before. I know I haven't.
Only things I've seen coming up out of the ground are those kobolds that people say that they've seen around the ruins of the Thirsty Alpaca. And you know, this area used to be very heavily populated by them, but I've never seen them myself. That doesn't look like any kobold I've ever heard of, though.
No, sir.
What did you say it was called again, Norman?
It's a Morlock.
It's a Morlock, sir, and we
I'll
know
take
that
your
there
word
was,
for it.
we know there were more like it, and they'd been called to the lighthouse in a similar way to the kobolds and some of the other unsavory characters we found there.
You know, I've always thought you were crazy, but hearing you telling those stories about what's going on up there, but I guess now here I am riding past old Rin's shop and seeing a bunch of bodies and this dead monster. Tell you what, why don't we start keeping secrets from each other? Maybe that's the way to deal with this. You know, the less that y'all could tell me about what it is that you're finding over there, I'll believe the things that you do tell me, but I would prefer it if you let me, not know too much about too many things that might become my problem if I know too much about them, if you understand what I'm saying.
And Mag, everything that Lardis has said after acknowledging that he used to think Mag was crazy and now he no longer thinks Mag was crazy, everything after that has been completely lost on Mag. Those words have such a profound effect on her that her breath catches in her throat, and it's all she can do just to keep breathing calmly. The sort of catharsis of hearing an authority figure like that acknowledge that what she's been saying all these years is real. She just nods twice very quickly and says nothing and sort of turns away from him. She doesn't want him to see how deeply his words have affected her.
So there's about 10 seconds of awkward silence between the two of you. All right, I guess we're done then. And he starts getting his guards to start cleaning up, picking up the unconscious Meffrey and starting to cart off the dead.
One more secret that we got to keep from you. And Norman pats down Galgrist.
Sure, let me open up the Gralgist character sheet, see what this guy's got.
Does he have some Morlock stools?
1,000,000 gold.
Meanwhile,
you find a disgusting club, like a gross, blood-spattered stick that he presumably beat people with.
Oh, Mag, look, you might like this. It's for hitting things.
It's getting close to 10 o'clock in the morning. What would you guys like to do next?
Well, Vadim sidles up to Mag, and he says, Mag, that was an extraordinary blow you struck against, which twin was it? Was it Jeffrey? It was Jeffrey, right? That Mag...
It was Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Who Mag did 34 points of damage to.
It seems like it's fair game to confuse them every so often. I don't know.
Yeah.
You did an extraordinary job with that. I couldn't help but admire the work you put in on the blade. I was wondering, would you be willing to try and help me so that my blade might be able to perform in a way similar to yours? The rune work, I mean. Mechanically, what Vadim is asking is to go get a striking room and see if Mag can attach it. for him.
Vadim, of course. I have some skill with these kinds of crafts and would be happy to try my hand.
Yeah, so you can, if you'd like to, purchase a striking rune if you're able to pull the money together to do that. You can get a striking rune at Blades for Glades. We know that they sell them there. And this is something that if Mag is going to attach a striking rune, it takes a day to make an attempt at attaching a striking rune. That's 8 hours of work. So I think it kind of makes sense, if it sounds okay to you guys, if we figure out with crafting checks how much downtime it's going to take for Mag to attach the striking rune for Vadim.
Yeah, we've got all the money pulled together. I think we all agreed already that we'll all hand money over because this seems like a good investment. Worked so well for Mag. Let's do it for Vadim.
Yeah, I mean, Mag has some money now, but she certainly benefited from the group's largesse before, so she'd be happy to kick in as much of
a lot
as
of people on the Discord think that I have made a mistake by letting Mag do this in the first place, because it's a level 4 rune that Mag attached at level 2. I think given the fact that you destroyed my severe encounter with those 2 psychics in about 2.5 rounds, it suggests that the people in the Discord might be onto something. So let's just double down on that and attach more game-breaking runes to Vadim's stuff. Mag sets up on the anvil near Blades for Glades to start trying to work on attaching this brand new striking rune purchased from Blades for Glades. Carmen Rajani was like, no, I suppose I'll sell it to you. And let's get that crafting check and see how you do.
Sure. So Mag has removed her armor, most of her regular gear. She's down to her shirt sleeves, sort of a simple linen shirt that she wears beneath her armor, as she hefts a really substantial set of crafting tools and begins her work trying to attach the rune.
Okay, here we are. It is 8 hours later. Let's see what happens.
That is a 19.
And the target number is 19.
Hey! Guys, go to the roller. I finally understand. Yes.
So, yeah, at the end of the day, here we are on the Friar Day, the 16th of Gazrin, at 6 p.m. or so. Mag finds herself looking down at a beautiful +1 striking Aldori dueling sword.
Yeah.
He was always saying it before. I never really understood it until I was working with it directly myself. But I must say, she says to herself as she finishes the job, wiping sweat from her brow, this is a beautiful weapon.
Yeah, and you see this slim, single-bladed dueling sword with runes carved all over it.
She takes one swing in the air. It's like actually weirdly clumsy because she's not trained in advanced weapons.
Right. You have no idea what to do with this thing. But that means that everybody else has at least 1 day of downtime, and that, I think, is reason enough for me to talk to you about a system that I have not been super upfront about that is sort of part and parcel to this adventure path that we're playing through right now, Abomination Vaults. I've mentioned the so this system is like a town relationship system. It's about tracking who it is that you're friendly with, who it is that you have a good relationship with, who dislikes you, etc. Because there is some value in making friends with the people in town. Currently, the party is friendly with the people at 3 different places around town. 1, you're friendly with Yin Yasmara at the Crook's Nook because of rescuing the thieves. Crook's Nook will give you a discount on anything that you buy there. You'll get a 10% discount. It's got housing, so since the place likes you, you can stay there for free. She's an employer, and if you'd like to, you can make money with thievery there. And it is a parlor, so socially inclined characters, which I think for us would be basically Norman and Trill, can retrain faster. You can do a week of retraining or a month of retraining in reduced time. And also, because it's a parlor, you get bonuses since you're friendly there, to gather information or earn income with performance there. You get a bonus to those checks there.
Oh, nice.
You're also friendly with Vandy at the Dawnflower Library. So again, it's a discount there because you're friendly with them. And it's a church, so you get speedy retraining if you're faithful and share an alignment with Vandy. So that probably means Vadim. And also, because it's a church, you'll get bonuses to identify magic, treat wounds, or treat disease there. It's also a library, which means that scholarly casters, including arcane and occult spellcasters, so again, Trill and Norman can retrain faster there. And you can get a bonus to do book stuff at the library, like creating forgeries or deciphering writing.
Cool.
The third place that you're friendly with is Rin at Rin's Wonders. Again, you get a discount there. It's a library, so the same benefits as before that I just listed. And it's also a lodge, which means that primal casters can retrain more quickly there. We don't have any of those. But if you become friendly with other places around town, you can potentially open up new opportunities for downtime. So if any of you would like to get friendly with any businesses, you can spend a day trying to make an impression to get the party more popular there. But as a word of warning, there may be some places where there is a bigger problem brewing and you won't be successful in making them friendly with you until that problem is resolved.
Cool.
So given that, you've got a day of downtime as Mag is spending a day, 8 hours working on this deal. So why don't I ask you guys what you would like to do?
Tink.
Trill
Tink.
might want to go chat, might want to go back to Odd Stories and perhaps make friends. And see if maybe, now that we've got this whole thing with Beffrey all tied up, I'm remembering the back of my mind a little bit about a missing
Zarmoftian?
Werewolf. I was actually thinking a little bit about a missing werewolf, so I'm also curious if maybe they know anything about this missing werewolf. Joel Mesman.
So Trill walks into Odd Stories, the bookstore owned by Morlabent and his husband Karlth. And Morlabent sees Trill walk in and says, "Oh, of course, you're the gnome that runs around with those adventurers that brought those interesting books to me the other day. It's good to see you."
Hello.
And Carl sort of rolls his eyes at Morlabent as you walk in.
Trill pulls out her harp and plays a couple strings to light up a couple books on the shelves, just to
it's quite beautiful.
bring a little magic into the room to try and charm them a little bit and make an impression.
Yes, it's quite beautiful, the music that you're playing. So let's get the diplomacy roll to see how they feel about you.
I'm just imagining in like a Barnes and Noble here, like you want to get a good deal, so you bring your harp in and you sing them a tune. And they're like, fabulous.
I almost rolled performance because it just felt so natural to roll performance, but it's diplomacy. And that's not good. That was a 12.
They sort of screw their faces up a little bit and say, "Yes, I understand that you play the harp. I'm not exactly sure what it is that I can do for you." And Carl looks at Trill and says, "Don't pay him any mind.
Well,
he's so obsessed with those books that you brought him from the lighthouse that frankly, he's not going to be able to think straight until you bring him more of those books."
More books, right.
And you get the impression that the way to become friendly here is to recover more books.
We had some things to do. We had to, fight some cult leaders and rescue some people, and that didn't work out so well. And and I had kind of an emotional day
Cult
with
leaders, my goodness.
Yeah, it's been kind of a whirlwind day and a half for me emotionally, but that's kind of in the past. So anyway,
and Carl is scribbling down every detail that you tell him as he's trying to get more of the history that is being written here unfolding.
So anyway, but we're going to go back, and when we go back and we get into the library finally, we're definitely going to bring you guys back some things. Don't you worry. Oh my gosh.
Fantastic.
But I was curious what you could tell me I know there's this history of that awful werewolf, Jarl Mesmin, and I know he did those terrible things to the wife of the guy at Galentine Deliveries.
Well, no, it was Isla Lathanar, the wife of Keelan O'Lathanar, who runs the general store.
Oh, the general store. Right. Thank you. It sounds like he might still be around somewhere on this big island. I was wondering if you had any information on werewolves or anything else, because he sounds dangerous. And, my group, we're all about trying to keep Otari safe.
Sure, so why don't you go ahead and roll that diplomacy to gather information as you spend a couple hours talking to them and trying to gather what they know.
I am not rolling well today. That was a 17.
So they look like not particularly interested in your story about Jarl Mesmin, and Carl just sort of looks at you and says, listen, he was driven off of the cliffs into the ocean. It's very well documented. I don't think there's a great chance that the great werewolf Jarl Mesmin is still wandering around or anything.
I mean, not to be rude or anything, but your documents also said that there was nothing under the first level of the keep.
Oh, snap.
Well, I suppose it's up to you to prove me wrong by figuring it out for yourself then, isn't it?
On that note, Trill plays a couple more strings of her harp, and the lights come back into her
when she
harp.
plays the harp. It's quite beautiful music.
And bring, ding, ding. Okay, guys, I'll see you later.
So Trill steps out of the shop, and let's move on to Norman next.
Norman's interest was piqued by Captain Lardis's his mention of the kobolds who were coming out of the ruins of the Thirsty Alpaca. His shoes are driving him nuts because Norman hates wearing shoes. So he kicks off his shoes and he puts on a sailor disguise of a grubby barefoot sailor and goes over to the ruins of the Thirsty Alpaca to check out what's going on there.
I love that Norman immediately dons a disguise wherever he decides to go.
Cause.
Yeah,
There's like no reason for him not to. Why would he just wear? Why wouldn't he put on a costume?
Theme wear.
So Norman approaches the ruins of the Thirsty Alpaca. Norman has been here long enough to know that the Thirsty Alpaca was the biggest tavern in town, but that the building collapsed dramatically a little while ago. There were a few employees and a few visitors to the tavern that died in this building collapse, and you know that the owner of the tavern is missing. As you approach, you don't see anything in these fallen timbers of this tavern. It looks like it's been hit by a bomb, basically. But you do feel as though maybe you hear some noise as you walk up.
Norman decides to investigate. He's probably got his rapier out, sort of swishing through the rubble. I think he would expect the kobolds, if they're there or whatever is going on there, for there to be like a hole in the ground or some sort of passageway. So I think he's kind of like looking around on the ground in particular.
So Norman, and I've just rolled a secret perception check for Norman. Norman starts sort of lifting little bits of rubble around, trying to see if there's anything that goes down. And Norman is able to find a tunnel that has collapsed, like something that was once a tunnel. This whole thing looks like it was a horrible accident. Mm-hmm. But there's a tunnel leading down into the ground, and that tunnel has caved in. And Norman sees signs of even a kobold body that is buried in this tunnel.
Can he tell what the noise was? Like, is the noise coming from that same tunnel?
The noise is coming from the corner of the rubble. And as Norman goes and investigates it, he sees out of the corner of his eye scampering away, like small humanoid dragon-like figures running off and hiding around a corner. And I think Norman's able to draw the conclusion from that there are a couple of kobolds that are living here in this wreckage.
And assuming he's doing 100% the right thing and communicating with them, obviously in the language they'd speak instead of, say, kobold. He goes, "Nang nang bonobo," meaning good morning.
Norman hears nothing back. It seems as though these creatures don't understand what it is that Norman is saying to them.
So he decides this is sort of something he wants to report to the group, but he'd like to indicate to these creatures that he's, friendly, even if he may not make much progress with them now. So he takes out a bit of, he's eaten all his schnooks. Let's say he's got an old scone in his pocket and sets it down, and in Undercommon yells out, "I've left you a tasty treat," which is, of course, "Nang nang bo nabo."
You don't need to tell me that. I know exactly how you say that in Undercommon. And so as Norman walks away from the ruins of the Thirsty Alpaca, he thinks that he spots out of the corner of his eye a couple of these kobolds run up, snatch this old scone, and dart back into some undiscovered shelter within these ruins.
Well, I think with the rest of his day feeling, smug with himself that he's discovered something about the town that the others don't know, that he can sort of, share with them and use to impress upon them his incredible intelligence and skill, he decides he's going to do what he's best at and head over to Crook's Nook and see what there is to hear and maybe do a little light stealing.
So Yin Yasmara sees Norman approach. Norman, it's good to see you. I heard that you got mixed up with, that situation with Beffrey. It seems that you've come out of it more or less unscathed.
And Norman, I love that she just recognizes him in the sailor outfit. Like, there's just everyone's
sorry.
like, no, I think it's great. I think it's great.
But didn't know him as Barbara.
Last week, when he was Laura Dern, just straight over her head.
She was skeptical. And he says, yeah.
Well, she sold you that disguise kit, so she knows.
That's right.
All of the different disguises.
Also, like, in a sailor outfit, you still look like yourself. I don't.
Right. Norman, have you been sailing the seas?
And he says, oh yeah, that was a nasty business. I think it's over, and I think Trill's gonna be okay, but I have to say I'm kind of glad to be rid of them. They were a pretty big nuisance.
Trouble followed her everywhere she went. Not like you, Norman. I like you.
Thanks, Yin.
Yin Yasmara.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, Yin Yasmara. That's right. I've been meaning to meet some of the folks who hang out here. Has anyone here ever been over to the keep? Is there anyone around who I could talk to who might know some things? I got some questions.
Yeah, so you spend some time talking to her and with the people at the Crook's Nook. So why don't you give me a diplomacy check?
All right.
Is this a diplomacy day for Fraum?
Unfortunately, it's a deception day for Fraum, which
All right.
just goes to show you can't trust the little tooth. That is a 19.
So you spend the time talking to people, and you mentioned this sea monster, and you see a guy with an eye patch sitting behind the bar, and he looks at Norman and he shouts off, "Did you say sea monster you're looking for?"
That's right, old salt. A sea monster.
Well, when I heard about those, those fellow members of the Osprey Club who took that boat and got captured by those Morlocks, I was sure that they'd been killed by the water drake.
Water drake?
Yeah. He looks at her and says, they call her Fresnelkesh.
I like that name.
Fresnelkesh. What? So she kills folks. I mean, she sounds like bad news.
Oh, she's terrible news. She'll capsize ya, strip your bones, and eat your face.
Oh.
That's what happened to this thing. And he flips up his eye patch. And his eye is there, but his eyelid has been removed by the sea drake. By the sea drake.
You can never blink.
The river drake it is.
River drake. Capsize you, eat your face, and then you can't blink. Well, I'm sorry to hear it. How did you get away from her?
Well, you're asking me that question, not the friends of mine who didn't get away from her.
Well, right, because, you would have been the one who God, if I asked them, they would.
Right, but what I'm saying is that she ate them instead of me.
Gotcha. So you better them to get away. So bring people she can eat.
Listen, I tried to get away and I succeeded. My friends didn't. And why would she? She's a beast, a ravenous river beast.
Okay.
She ate this eyelid of mine and then she was sated.
Gotcha. Couple of friends and an eyelid. Okay, that makes sense. Did you notice when you were trying to fight her? Did certain things seem to hurt her more or less?
Yeah, did she have resistances to any particular kind of damage? Or?
It's a river drake, is all I know.
Okay. Well, can I buy you a drink?
Please. You know, it's the first. Sailors don't usually treat me so generously.
Yeah, no, good talk, man. I appreciate this river drake stuff. That's going to be moderately helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, so if you'd like to know what you know about river drakes, you could potentially use some sort of lore check, maybe an arcana check to see what you know about river drakes.
Well, I'm going to assume the astrology lore is not super helpful on the river drake sitch.
Probably not.
But I'll do an arcana check.
Okay, so go ahead and give me a blind arcana check, please.
All right.
So here's what you know about river drakes. They're extremely dangerous up close.
Shocking.
But river drakes are famous for using their tail defensively. Anybody who gets near them and attempts, they will fend off attackers by whipping their tail around, injuring people very badly and disrupting attacks that come in at them. Essentially, if you try to mess with the river drake at all with a strike or with a skill check, they lash out their tail and give you a damage and a penalty to your roll that you just made against them.
Damn.
All right. And they're deeply susceptible to fire and piercing damage, right?
You don't know that.
What about acid damage? How do they like acid or freezing?
Okay, cool.
What about giant sword damage?
They're extremely susceptible to giant sword damage. Yes.
Do river drakes happen to like steal gold and hoard it?
I think that Norman would know, like, that drakes, like anything related to dragons, absolutely have a hoard of treasure.
And I think Gralgus said something like that, right? That they were taking
Yes.
things and dragging.
So this is the thing
right,
that was
yeah.
taking all Gralgus gold that
Yeah.
he's talking about. Cool.
So that way lies gold. All right. Well, after Norman has sort of digested all of this, he decides he's going to spend a little time among the thieves, just sort of to impress and amuse himself, doing a light thievery, stealing for the rest of the day.
So Yin Yasmara says, I got 2 jobs you could take. One's a little trickier, but it'll pay a little better. Or you can take an easier job. That's
No,
maybe
I
a
want
little...
the tricky one. You know, what are you even offering 2 jobs for? Come on.
So she describes to you how at the fishery, at Tamily Tanderville's business over at the docks, there is a visitor from out of town who has a very nice-looking watch that he keeps flashing around as he is like this. And in this community, a watch is an absurd extravagance. A clockwork, like this technology has not existed for generations. And this visitor with this outrageous mustache just keeps pulling out this clockwork timepiece as he's sitting at the fishery drinking and eating fish. So you can spend the rest of the day earning income by doing this job for Yin Yasmara, and that is going to be a thievery check to see if you're able to recover this timepiece for the Osprey Club.
Recover? I would think you just mean steal.
Yeah. Look, this is a legitimate business.
Hey, thieves are all about euphemisms. You know, you got to case the joint, and
you need to liberate this this timepiece.
And Norman, for reasons that have not been discussed, is deeply interested in clockwork. He has a sort of negative attitude about it, but once he hears this, he's sold. He's got to go get this thing and get his hands on it.
Yeah, how did you roll?
Unfortunately, he only rolled a 14. He got caught up in his negative thoughts of clockwork, but...
Okay. So you find yourself creeping up on this visitor from out of town who is at this moment producing his extravagant clockwork timepiece, and you are suddenly interrupted by Tamily Tandervale, the owner of the fishery, of Otari's fishery. She is wearing a cartoonish pirate outfit, dressed actually very similarly to you.
Well, if I were in my pirate outfit, not my sailor outfit.
Well, she's dressed like a cartoonish pirate, and she says to you, "Well, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I've seen you here before. I was a member of the Grey Corsairs for my entire career, and I have to wonder if I've met you before." And the owner of the timepiece like whips his head around and sees your like hand in midair
Dangling.
as she is like interrupting you and tapping you on the shoulder and blowing your whole operation here.
And Norman pivots hands, like, takes the hand that was about to grab the watch and shakes her hand vigorously.
Yeah.
Stephanopoulos Gregory, pleasure to meet you.
I guess I am meeting you for the first time. I don't recall that name, and you get locked in this conversation about the Grey Corsairs. She shows you her like peg leg collection, and it's just a day with Tamily Tandervale, the brightest, least interesting, most charming, sort of least offensive, most affable person in town, and it is a huge waste of your time. And you return to Ynyasmara, and she looks at you, and she's like, "Tamily got you, didn't she?"
She sure did, Yen. I'll try again another day.
And she tosses you a silver piece for your trouble.
Oh, all right.
So if you can add that to your character sheet.
Boom.
So that takes us to Vadim. What is Vadim doing with this day?
So as Mag sort of is stoking the flames of the smithy, Vadim walks in with his monograph on Syrian Aldori and says, "Mag, do you mind if I hang out while you work? It occurs to me we've never really had the chance to talk. You grew up here in Otari, right?"
Mag pauses for a moment, lets the hammer rest on the anvil and wipes her brow. "Yes, I grew up here. My family lives just a few minutes outside of town on the outskirts of the wood."
Seems like a nice place to grow up. Quiet, peaceful.
In its way, I suppose. It's a peaceful place, and there's room here to make a good life for yourself. If you swim with the currents, and don't try to swim against them.
Do you think you've swum against the currents here?
More so than with them, I think. Although, not always by choice. When you live in a town like this, there's a certain way you're supposed to be, a certain way you're supposed to think, certain things you're supposed to do and not do, and maybe I always had a little more trouble with supposed to's. Is this how it was where you came from?
No, actually. Vigil was a pretty big city. There were lots of different people there, different from all over, actually. My teacher, the one who taught me the Aldori dueling sword, Irslan, she was actually from Restov, and she was a crusader in the Mendevian Crusade, the fourth, but was wounded. She studied, actually, with Tiel Dalara in Restov. I don't know if you have heard of her, but she's quite a remarkable duelist. How did you learn to fight, though? You fight with such ferocity.
At first it came to me mostly just without thinking, just by instinct. Then over time, once I'd finished my schooling, or my schooling had finished with me, that was when I thought to train. I went first to the guard. I took what I could from them. It was a short-lived spell there.
Oh, really? What happened?
I suppose you could say we had our own views about what was most important to keep the people here safe. Mag is starting to feel self-conscious, so she's dropped her gaze from Vadim's and is staring at the weapon that she's crafting, maybe a little more intently than she needs to be. And she says, "He certainly has his own views." And then she hefts her hammer and gives one massive strike on the weapon. You know, Vadim, I know what all this means to me. I know what I've always felt looking off at the lighthouse after some of the horrors that made their way to my family from its direction. But this is not your fight.
And now it's Vadim's turn to sort of look away and up and sort of into the roof and go, "Well, it might not be my fight, but it's Pharasma's, and so it's mine. After Vigil fell, I managed to escape and found myself with nothing more than my blade and this dream. It's a funny thing about the dream. It can keep you going in times of darkness. I don't know that I had much of a choice coming down here, to be honest. This was the only path. This is the only path for me." Mag, you mentioned your family was threatened by something out in the swamp. I hope I'm not prying, but may I ask what happened?
Mag, her right hand tenses on the hammer. "I'll say this, Vadim. You've seen how many creatures we've encountered of unexpected size and ferocity. Things you wouldn't know to look for in a regular swamp. Well, I'll say this. None of that surprised me." And she swings the hammer down once again, even harder. So hard a spark flies, extinguishes itself at his feet, and she grunts with the effort in a way that suggests she's finished for the moment, discussing this part of her past.
Vadim quickly changes the subject, sensing her discomfort. "I want to thank you again for working on my blade. In truth, I feel very blessed to have this blade. It was made by my father's friend Bogdan Fieraru, who'd moved to Lestwall with my father. He was the blacksmith in our village, and he decided to give up his home to come with him to Lestwall. And so under Irslan's direction, he made this blade for me. And now I have another friend working on it. I feel very blessed." And as Mag finishes her work on the blade, Vadim picks it up, tests it. There's a soughing noise as it slices through the air as he moves through a series of cuts. And he looks at Mag and smiles and says, "You know, a sword needs a name. I've never known what to call it now, but I think you've answered that for me." He holds it up and puts her hand on the hilt with his and says, "This sword's name is Vigilance. And together we will be vigilant against anything that stands in the dark."
And she echoes this last. "Against anything that stands in the dark."
All right, let's go get drunk.
Am I wrong for thinking it should have been named Stephanopoulos Gregory? I don't know. I feel like I got robbed there.
You know, I considered that actually.
Okay,
weirdly enough.
Those are the two.
You didn't want to just name it Trophus? That wouldn't have been too confusing.
For Hutalob!
So after a night out drinking, it's another new day. The area around Rin's shop has been completely cleaned up. As the sun rises, people start venturing out to do their day's work. The giant's wheel spins up. The lumber mill starts taking in logs and moving planks towards the ships gathered at the waterfront. And what would the four of you like to do on this day, which has a gentle rain falling over town?
I assume maybe we gather outside of Crook's Nook, all looking for schnooks. It feels like our morning spot. It's like a central perk for us.
Yeah.
There's Yini Asmara as Gunther.
Oh my
Awkward.
God, so good. So Norman, as soon as everyone gathers over coffee and snooks, Norman is like, guys, I found the coolest thing out about that monster that we heard about that's in the cavern, and he starts rattling away all the stuff about the river drake.
So if anybody else would like to do a knowledge check about the river drake,
Swamp
that's
lore,
the thing you can
please.
do now. Swamp lore totally makes sense. Let me do or can you give me a blind swamp lore check, please?
With pleasure.
Mag knows that in addition to this defensive action that the river drake can take with its tail, they also know that it has a slick blue skin that makes it resistant to acid.
Good for Trill to know.
Wow, I actually just found out about its resistance. That's so cool.
It's really
you.
helpful.
I guess
Thank
it's
you.
yeah. So instead of begging, I should just ask for the appropriate check and then roll dice. Okay. All right. I think I'm starting to get this.
Are you liking the game yet?
Mag definitely has heard of river drakes as existing out in the fog fen.
Got it.
And guys, I think it's got treasure buried. I mean, we could get all kinds of stuff. Maybe I can even buy that watch off that guy. I don't know. Norman's like mumbling to himself.
What?
Watch?
What? What's he talking about?
I just tried to steal. It doesn't. I'll tell you later.
Huh.
But let's go get that drake, right? I mean, there's more to see there. We got all the stuff that Zelbub told us about, but let's go kill that drake and get some treasure.
I've never seen the drake before.
So as the rain falls upon you, so just a gentle mist, you take the now familiar pathway through the plain leading towards the forest into the fog fen, and the now incredibly saturated dirt and muck of the swamp squelches into your boots as you walk deeper and deeper into the swamp towards the lighthouse.
Gross. Are we going to find something we don't want to see in the swamp because it's so swampy now?
So it sounds like you're heading towards that pool of water near Gralgust's throne room, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You work your way down into that first subterranean level, past the room that has those the polished floor and the silver engraved etchings.
Well, there's the incinerator, Norman says.
And you find yourselves
Thought it was a portal.
with Mag's bastard sword casting light, standing on the shores of this pool.
Vadim draws both of his blades.
Norman gets his bow out.
You're looking out into this crystal clear pool that is under the dome of a natural cavern. You see passageways leading off to the right and to the left. What would you like to do?
Mag is peering cautiously forward into this cavern, and as she's doing so, she reaches a hand into her pouch. She pulls out a piece of jerky and she tosses it forward into the cavern to see whether it attracts any kind of attention.
Nice.
So I'm going to say that this sounds like a survival check.
Oh.
Yeah.
That this sounds like you are trying to bring a creature out using your knowledge of the area, and you're trying to coax it forward. So let's get a survival check from you.
Okay.
And while Mag is doing that, Norman is trying out something new, and he goes, "Smart thinking, Mag. I got your back." And he casts a Forbidding Ward on her.
Oh, you got Forbidding Ward 2 now? Fun.
I've had it all along. I haven't used it, but I have to pick Daze, Ghost Sound, or Forbidding Ward each day. So today I have picked Forbidding Ward, and I'm
Today's
trying
a
it.
deception day, but a protection day. It's that.
That's right.
It's
that
perfect
kind of
combination.
lie 'em but love 'em.
Yeah.
It's like, why
That
am I
classic
why am I
Norman
doing all the
push-pull.
Forbidding Warding then?
Well, I'm going to give Mag a hero point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because Mag, what did you roll?
I rolled a 22.
And that 22 on survival, you see the jerky drift slowly to the bottom of this crystal clear pool and rest there for a minute, 90 seconds, 100 seconds. And then suddenly from the back corner of the room, as you have your weapons out, fully prepared for what's going to happen, right? You see in a flash this blue-green dragon-looking creature dart out of a corner of the cavern, scooping up the jerky as it effortlessly sails by before twisting its neck around, seeing the four of you positioned at the edge of the pool. And it, with a sense of grace, flies moving like a blade through the air, up out of the water, extending its two wings to a 10-foot long wingspan, flapping them gently towards you twice, spraying you with droplets of this crystal clear water. It opens its mouth to expose row after row of razor sharp teeth, sticks its tongue way out, and just blasts you with a torrent of breath from its long neck.
And as it does, Mag turns to Vadim, her eyes glowing red with the first hints of rage, and says to him, "Against whatever lies in the darkness."
Ooh.
And we will pick up from there with this dang river drake next week.
The Roots of Ruin is a Tabletop Gold production, produced under the Paizo Incorporated Community Use Policy. The Roots of Ruin uses trademarks and/or copyrights owned by Paizo Inc., used under Paizo's Community Use Policy. We are expressly prohibited from charging you to use or access this content. Paizo does not recognize, endorse, or sponsor this project in any way. Original characters and content are the property of Tabletop Gold. For more information about Paizo Inc. and Paizo products, visit paizo.com. We at Tabletop Gold would love to hear from you. Email us at letters@tabletopgold.com and find all our social links at tabletopgold.com.